Peace. Welcome to another episode of Spears and Mike. I'm your host, Wa Slice. Today we have with us Shaka Zulu King L1, Zulu King Just P, Zulu King Razor, and our very special guest, Zulu King Reies and Zulu King Stepchild of the Omega Zulus. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe to the podcast. And if you haven't already, you could listen to our previous episode with the brother Seth Wise Wilson of Chapter 7 and his community work with his organization and dance school, the Columbus Dance Theater.
Mm.
But peace to the brothers, Zulu King Rayaz and Zulu King
Peace,
Stepchild.
peace.
Peace,
Peace.
peace.
What's going on?
Peace, Kings. Peace was good.
Peace.
King, peace. Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on Spears and Mikes. For those of the listeners that haven't had the opportunity to check out Enter the Omega, that's I think it's episode 12. Two
Mhm.
episodes ago we had the privilege and honor of interviewing Mike One and also Queen of the Omega Zulu. And now we got two of the brothers that's a part of the basically the foundation of Omega Zulu as well. We got the Zulu King Reyes and Zulu King Stepchild here to talk about, themselves, their history, the history of Omega Zulu. So yeah, welcome, brothers. Thank you so much, Kings. We really appreciate y'all coming on.
More. Bye.
Thanks for having us.
It's an honor to be here.
No, we appreciate you for real, both of you. So Reyes, let's start with you. Let's
Yep.
introduce you to the world.
The world of YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, for real,
Mhm.
for real.
Peace, everyone. This it's really good to be here with y'all. I love seeing your faces and sharing space, even if it's cyberspace. I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where I was born. So part of my heart is still in New Mexico, and um, I moved to Minnesota when I was around 5, and um, was gravitated towards breaking. Was my first love for hip hop. That's kind of how I. It's like the first thing I saw, and the first thing that touched my heart was the movement. Um, a lot of that was witnessing this crew back in Minneapolis called the Minneapolis Body Breakers. Was a big influence on me, and I was like, "Wow, I got to try this." So that was my that was my moment of clarity. I think that was my moment that in which I chose a path that would shape the rest of my life. After my break-in and short b-boy stints of 4 or 5 years or whatever, I got into DJing after I was incarcerated for about a year and a half as a teenager, and then I started to DJ after I got out of a boys' home, and it was about '92. Um, and then DJing just became my focus instead of doing dumb shit on the street and um, doing all doing negative behavior and things that could affect me and get me re-locked up. I just would come home after school and just make mixtapes um, and sell mixtapes at school. And um, eventually, with hip hop, it's not a monk thing. It's natural to join a crew, right? It's natural to be with others. That's what hip hop encourages, of a ummah, of a community. And got with a crew, and how we always used to be part of a crew, like old school dumb names, and like weird jam masters, and did some roller skating for a while. And if you roller skate, if you ever roller skate back in the days, sometimes the skates would come off, and you'd battle in the middle of the roller rink. And we had a spot called the Roller Gardens back in the days. It closed down, but that used to happen there. um, and so DJing just kind of really just got my focus. And um, I've always been in love with hip hop. That was kind of shaped my worldview. It shaped. Um, it gave me education that I wasn't getting in public schools, right? It gave me a sense of identity. It gave me a sense of community. It gave me um, a sense of peace within, um, just to be involved. And started DJing later on. I kind of fast forward. I don't want to take too much time. I know Step has a lot of history too, but later on, I had joined a crew called Rhyme Series Entertainment, with a crew called Los Nativos, which was part of Rhyme Series as a whole. And um, we did a lot of great things too. And Rhyme Series blew up. And if you ever ask people from Minnesota about RSE, they're going to tell you right away. It's the crew that kind of really, how you people, how you got to put Minnesota on the map. That was the crew that did it, right? So it was honorable to be part of that crew, and still leave and then watch them kind of just prosper. But um, later on, I kind of just was figuring out. I was a nightclub DJ for a long time at this place called First Avenue. You may have heard of it. It's where Prince filmed Purple Rain.
Mm.
I was a resident there for years and years. Traveled DJing. That's kind of how I made a living for a while, and then decided, let me go to higher education, and eventually became a social worker, a high school social worker. Um, but along the way, I felt that hip hop was not just about entertainment; it was about changing people's hearts and minds and souls. And I got into education of hip hop, so started presenting at conferences, started trying to create workshops and create presentations around hip hop and education and how that bridges together, right? Um, I wasn't the first person to think of this, but the kind of the one of the founding ladies of hip hop education, P. Sandy Hicks, was this was 1986 where she decided to create a workshop on how to identify body parts through rap music for kindergartners, and it really worked. Like, you don't think of like bringing hip hop into the classroom at that early stage of our culture, right? In '86, but she did so, and that kind of sparked a lot of stuff. But anyways, I'm part of a lot of different movements. Um, I connected with Jay Dilla's mother in 2014 when we did a Dilla Day up here. Step was at that thing. I think that was at Knock. I remember there was this place called Knock in North Minneapolis, so we did a lot of events.
Yep.
But joined the Dilla family back in 2015. I was inducted into the foundation, and been doing Dilla events in his honor for um, this will be 10 years now. So, and we got one planned for next year. So, joined the Freedom School movement about 8 years ago. I'm a Freedom School teacher, with that movement, which honors the power of reading and the power of books and the power of Black and Brown authors. Very honored to be part of that, part of the Hip Hop Education Center as their research team. So we're doing a lot of great work right now. We've been working on a timeline on women contributions to hip hop, women in hip hop. Very powerful timeline that'll be released pretty soon here to educational circles. Got a restorative justice background. Of course, I work in schools. I work with mainly 6th to 8th graders, but I work with high school students 6 to 12. Um, Travel a lot, do all
Mhm.
cook, iron. You know, I just trying to make every second count before I'm 6 feet under. And I think I'll digress with that.
That's peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reyes, man. I'll brag about you a little bit. The stuff that you were talking about.
Mhm.
I know it's hard to do that and stuff. He's a really big deal in hip hop. I was more from looking at it from the outside in when he was on the end. He was rolling around with Rhyme Series doing all the popular type of stuff, and rocking with, like, Mikey was there in Rhyme Series too. And one of the
Idea,
big
rest
things
in
in
peace.
2000, idea. Rest in peace. Yeah,
Rest in peace.
he won that Blaze battle. You guys remember that in 2000?
Of course,
Oh
that was
man,
big.
jeez,
Absolutely.
That was
man.
Absolutely.
huge.
Yep.
Remember it like it was yesterday.
Yep.
Oh
Idea was dope.
man, yeah, that really
Dope.
touched a lot of our hearts over here in Minnesota. Because to me, when I was watching, because I was in this crew battle cast. It was a breaking
Mhm.
crew back then, and so we're all kind of watching. It's like, okay, what's a small fry like Mikey from Minnesota gonna do to like in this HBO Blaze battle? And all of a sudden he goes out there and he's just fire, man. So we
Yeah,
knew that. Everybody at Scribble Jams knew that too, and stuff in places he
yeah,
went
because
in
he was
Chicago
winning
and stuff.
battles at Scribble Jam way before that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
Brother Ali
mm.
too. He was nasty with it too, and all those battling MCs were just nasty with it, And so yeah, and Reyes is out there. His names are all in all fire since the 1980s and stuff, in the 90s, and it's like he still does has a lot of followers like in all those big name clubs and he was RSC Rhyme Sayers. So yeah, he rolled with like all like the heavy hitters around here. So I'm just gonna brag for you, man. I was from
Thank
the
you.
outside looking at you,
Well,
and
Steph,
I was just a
you were
little
part of
break
like three
dancer.
different breaking crews at the same time, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's well, I mean, yeah.
So
Later on,
PBB,
yeah.
right? Battle
It was
Cats,
a different world. Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and
Different lives, different worlds.
West Coast Rockers, right?
No, that's Jason.
That Jason, okay.
Yeah. Jason. He was B-boy Jay's son is one of our heavy hitting elder B-boys around
Mhm.
here. He lived in California for a while, and he joined West Coast Rockers, came back, and he was sharing some knowledge there as well. He was one of our Omega Zulus back in the day as well
Mhm.
when we
Hmm.
first started. So on that note, probably start there if you wanted.
Yeah, tell
But
us about the beginning of Omega Zulu. Oh wait,
okay,
before I'm a stepchild, talk about your martial arts
Right.
background as well.
okay, we can go on a little bit. We've all lived many lives, and that's why
Yep.
we have so much. All of us Zulus have so much to contribute. Integrate all those different kind of lives in the one little time string to make things good. So yeah, so one of the lives that I lived was probably one of the longest lasting ones that I've had was my martial arts background, which I started when I was 8. I'm 48 now.
Wow.
Do some math. 8 minus 48. No, I just kidding. No, so I started off as a kid. You start off with the traditional, the taekwondo is what I did. Traditional taekwondo. When you're 8, you did that for 8 years. Then I went into Wing Chun Kung Fu. Back then it was, I don't know, 1990. By that time, got my license, and then not to carry, license to drive, and then I went from there, and then I went to I started my combative arts with Wing Chun Kung Fu. I consider that combative, especially from back then. And then from there, I went on to Jeet Kune Do, Filipino martial arts, Kali, Panantukan,
Hmm.
combat submission wrestling, and that was in '94 is when I started doing the combative stuff. Silat, Panantukan is Filipino dirty boxing. And what else did I do back then? Muay Thai. That was a part of the program, the curriculum. That was at the Minnesota College group under Guru Rick Fay. And then did that for 6 years, and then I transferred over to the Minnesota Martial Arts Academy under Greg Nelson. And I've been doing that ever since, and that was since 2000, so that's 24 years from there. And I did Coach Greg's combatives and military combatives program and his Jeet Kune Do program there as well under the Inosano lineage, and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, from which lineage? It's the Gracie lineage under Helio, his lineage, and Pedro Sauer, via Pedro Sauer in Muay Thai there, and a lot of the Filipino martial arts and the knife and blunt bladed and blunt object martial arts, just like sticks and knives and stick and dagger and stuff like that, and a lot of different in combat submission wrestling. There's a big wrestling school, so it's a lot of combat submission wrestling combined with like a lot of catch wrestling and stuff like that. Those are all combative stuff. So that's all I would do because I thought that was the important thing to do at the time. By any means necessary, anything combative that could protect you, your loved ones, or yourself or your community is what I was getting into, and that's why I needed a master, and I've been doing that ever since. And then, of course, I also consider firearms as a martial art because it is really, if you really kind of look into it, I mean, it's not like it's an ancient art from like
Right.
China or something like that. But I mean, gunpowder maybe, I don't know. But I mean, it's in the state of Minnesota it's an open carry state, and because of that, and there's over 382,000 people that have a permit to carry here in Minnesota. And it's also, Minnesota's a big wrestling state, so we have a lot of people who do a lot of grappling here. So it's actually the grappling belt, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, North, South Dakota, and in Wisconsin were considered grappling belt for a really, really long time. And so we have a lot of like college wrestlers and all-American wrestlers here around the Midwest, and so we focus a lot on a lot of that. That is really good stuff anyways, and it's fun. So a lot of clinching with the Muay Thai. We focus a lot on that because that's actually a very good thing to get into because you're not really actually brutally hurting somebody. You don't have to. I mean, that's where virtue comes in. When you're able to train all these things and you have the ultimate physique and so much of this knowledge of physical power, but you don't have to use it, and that's where virtue comes in. You don't have to use it. That's where our goodness, also is melded into our virtue. And so, with that kind of discipline, and then you should be able to hone that kind of discipline within whatever you learn anyway. So that's my martial arts background. And then the firearms, I've trained a lot of that as a martial art, and there's so much to it. It's just unbelievable how much technicality and even non-technicality you have to learn, in the kind of things that you may or may not experience within your midbrain or your hypothalamus that you might not be able to register that at first glance if you were to run into something like maybe like for people out there who haven't experienced like extreme violence, you might freeze up because you might not know what it is and stuff. But a lot of us like Zulus we have experience in those kind of environments, and so you're used to it. You know how to react, and that is also a very positive attribute to have doing security or just caring for your loved ones. You know what to do, and you react, and you don't freeze up, and that's I think that's really important to document for everybody. Yeah. So that's my martial arts background, and I think that's something that everybody should just know and learn as well, if not just for yourself and family protection, but just for help or self-help too, and health.
Right.
Self-help
Got
as
you.
well. self-help as well.
Say that fast 3 times.
For real.
you just remix it, DJ Francisco.
That's peace, man. That's a very detailed, very dope extent backgrounds. That's why we knew it was gonna be dope to have y'all on. Um, you know, let's talk a little bit about the history of Omega Zulu. Phase two being the founder.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of connected to originally the Universe Zulu Nation, but also kind of separate. It was a unique chapter with a unique position, with a legendary founder, a legendary hip hop icon. So, can y'all talk about that? Reyes, Stepchild, whoever first.
Step, I think you should set it off because you were there at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, he was a good friend. I miss him.
R.I.P.
It was a
Yeah.
It was a surprise to me. I was waiting for his email like a couple months before that in December. 2019. Anyway, yeah, he came down. Well, here's the story. He came down here. I think Roger from Juxtaposition. He flew him down here. Was trying to take care of him. Anyways, he stayed with us. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
said
he stayed.
juxtaposition is a youth arts movement here in North Minneapolis.
Yeah, Roger and
Yep.
Deanna. I don't know if
Yep.
they're still together. If I should
That's
mention that
very,
or not.
very
But
well
okay.
known and respected organization.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, we had him down here, and we were having an event down here. Primarily, I can't remember. It was at this place called Intermediate Arts. Anyways, phase or True 222 is what he likes to be referred to as True. We would call him True. The world knows him as Phase 2. He stayed with us here for a couple of years. He was stuck here. Is one of the reasons why I think he was just stuck here. Was the
Blizzard.
reason why he missed his flight or something, or he wasn't able to get back, and no one was footing the bill to get him back to where he was going to go. So he stayed with us, and so we had the honor to do that. He wanted to start Omega Zulu, a chapter here. He had one in Italy already, the Omega Zulu Messiah that everybody remembers. Leva
Yep.
was in charge of that, Leva 57.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and so he wanted to have Omega Zulu here, not Omega Zulu Messiah chapter here, but he wanted to have that here. And at the time, both Omega Zulu and Omega Zulu Messiah were not officially part of the Universal Zulu Nation. And because he said something like, Bam said he can just go out and start his own stuff, and that's what he was doing, separate, away from all the UZN stuff, the network. I'm like, okay, well, so he started that, and he was mentoring us for a really, really long time, and just shared with us stories and stuff, and it was pretty cool. But we created the Omega Zulu, and I kept on pushing. Because Coda, I was talking with Coda at the same time from Indiana, and he's like, oh yeah, you got to go get official and stuff, and Lord Yoda X was
Your,
Mix
yep.
too. Was like, yeah, Yoda X, rest in peace. He's very also, he's really good to us, and we love Omega Zulu, loved him too. Yeah, he always welcomed us with open arms. You guys know who our Lord Yoda X was.
Yeah.
Of course,
He's awesome.
We dealt with him
And
since we were young, young
that
Zulus.
was that was a good brother, man.
Very good,
Real
humble
good.
brother.
Yeah, and yeah. So I was pushing it for. I was pushing it to True. I was saying, like, we need to get on the network with everybody else. So what do you think? Like, well, you got to go fly out to New York. You got to meet all these Zulu kings and queens. And I don't know if y'all were there that night or that time on 125th and Lenox. We all met at like Starbucks or something. Yeah, I don't remember,
Possibly.
but all of y'all.
2008,
yeah,
right? 2007, 2008 area step.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like I was meeting everybody at the same time, so I couldn't tell if any of y'all were there or not. I was just like,
Was it during the Zulu anniversary?
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably
I
there,
was
most likely. Yeah,
yeah,
most
we
likely.
were there every year, every
Yeah.
event,
Yeah. This one was specifically a specific meeting at 125th and Lenox or Malcolm X.
Okay.
And
Okay.
before we even head to the event, and True didn't want to come out. He said, "I'll do it for you." I was like, "Okay." So yeah, he didn't want to come out, and you guys probably didn't remember because True was there, so everybody wanted to talk to him. So I was just kind of just sitting there like, oh, here, because he never comes around, so everybody's just like trying to catch up or play, I don't know, other kind of things to do with him or something like that, But yeah, so he mentored us for a while here in Minnesota, and that's how we got in good relationships with him. And then he came back to New York. After a while, we were able to come back out. I don't remember how or when. I don't remember that. I was on I came to New York just to establish a chapter. I wasn't planning on doing anything further. I wasn't planning on being like the president or the founder or anything. I just came to petition for one.
Mhm.
And all y'all are like, "Oh, Step, you're the president now." It's like, well, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a bunch of people mad back at home. It's like, well, you're the one that came out here, and it's like, okay, you guys are the ones that said that to me, you know.
Right.
It's like, okay, well,
That's
I'm gonna
normally
come
how it
back with it.
goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So okay, came back like, well, I guess I'm the president. I guess I'll do all that. We already had like a blueprint and everything. We're modeling it after. I chose to model it after 206 and then later on Portland because I thought they had a really awesome blueprint. Because 206 had like they were getting sponsorships from like Supersonics and the Seahawks and stuff. I'm like, wow, look, that's an awesome, like, okay, we gotta like, and they're 501c3 or 501. Well, then Portland went out and they got their what are they, the parallel Zulus? Or they
Hmm.
were. They
45th
got like,
parallel.
yeah, 45th parallel. They went out and did
Hmm.
the same thing, and like, okay, they're following the same blueprint as 206, and they're growing really, really well. I don't know how many members 206 have, but they're growing really good. And it's like, okay, we need to follow the footprints of the people who are most similar to our city, at least.
Right.
And so, in Portland got a whole movie theater off of like, I don't know, the Trailblazers or something. I don't know. Like,
Wow.
dang, that's what I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
so,
Powerful moves.
yeah, yeah.
And
It
that's a great blueprint to be following
Yeah,
206
tomorrow.
Zulu. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's to me, the perfect example of how, a Zulu chapter should run. And now, when you say that to me, I see now why Omega Zulu is in this position that y'all are in right now. If that's what y'all were aiming for and striving for, because to me, it's 206 Zulu and then it's Omega Zulu. Y'all two are like the examples of what a Zulu chapter should be like, in my humble opinion. You
Hmm.
know, so
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
keep on that path, keep striving.
Thank you. It's not that we weren't paying attention to all the other Zulus as well. I mean, we were collecting positive attributes from everybody that would help us out back then. But as far as just like infrastructure, it was easy to like see it and study it and ask questions because Chasm was really open to dialogue and stuff, and so is everybody else, and Kitty and everybody over there was really open to like explaining how they do things. And they also had the leadership conferences. They had everything on lockdown out there, with venues and everything. It's like they just they had a lot of
That's
money to
dope.
do it. I think, yeah, it was dope, and they have a really good, and their buildings are dope too. I don't know if they still have them, but
Yeah, they do, because we were out there. I was with Reyes, and when we went to Washington D.C., I mean, Washington State, and they got a full studio in there, audio, visual.
ah
They got the
2019.
whole, yeah, the whole
ah
hall. Yeah, so yeah, they're rocking and rolling out there.
probably
Washington.
Washington Hall, right? That's
yeah.
the headquarters.
Yep.
So it's
Um,
so it's probably way better than what I remember it as. I hope
yeah,
so.
it's
Yeah,
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. Peace
yeah.
to 206 Zulu. Peace to Zulu King Chasm. Peace to Zulu
Peace.
Queen Kitty Woo.
Mhm.
You was in Miami with us in 2003. Were you?
I
I
was
feel like
there.
you were. You
I
came to
was there.
Miami with us, right?
I did.
Right.
And
So me and P, right? Remember we had the worldwide Zulu chapter leader meeting
mhm,
in Miami. 2003, and that was the beginning of 206 Zulu.
mhm,
We That's actually where we met King
yeah,
Chasm. He had just joined Zulu,
mhm,
and they had gave them the green light to start 206 Zulu right in Miami. They told them to go back home and make it happen. And
That's
now,
what's
they
up.
just celebrated their 25th anniversary this past February. So we
yeah,
kind of, me and P and some of the New York Zulus, we've been tapped in with Chasm from the very,
yeah.
very beginning,
That's dope.
so
Even
it's
when,
kind of dope to go ahead, P.
I just remember, I was just gonna just to add on, even when him and Open Hands, they would come to Jamaica, Queens. I think Open Hands, last time I seen him, he just was with me and Red all through Jamaica, Queens. You know what I mean? So definitely good peoples,
Mm,
yo. Really, definitely. Shout out to them.
yeah, definitely.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I'd like to hear some more like from Chasm and Kitty's like storyline too.
Yeah,
Their
we're looking.
experience with
We're.
you guys and stuff.
I'm gonna be.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
gotta
I'm
be
gonna be
on.
reaching. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
spoken to them
absolutely.
about it, but it's necessary for them to be on. I want to talk about
Hmm.
their history, and it's a 25-year history. For the organization that's so-called 50 years old. I mean, 25 years is half the time. So, a lot of elders put a lot of support behind that, and it's kind of obvious that they
Yeah,
took it all in and they really made it work.
yeah,
Um,
I saw
it's
that.
incredible.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. They had like leadership conferences out there and stuff. I think that was real dope. They
Mhm.
had,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what stuff they had. I think at the time when I was studying it and I was, asking questions and stuff at the birth of ours, um, they had 151 members or something. I'm all about statistics and stuff, so I'm just like, 151 members, 385,000 people over here. It's like, no. Um, no, so we were growing at an exponential rate as well because I was using that blueprint and stuff. And we had a lot of hip hop around here, and Reyes was part of all this stuff too during that process. So we were up to there at 151. We were growing at 50. Was it 52? And we had like 17 provisional members at the time. And I was just blown out of my mind. Just I was having meetings everywhere, going to school full time, working full time, and I didn't really care about sleep. Nobody did. And then we had so many people who were very, very talented with so many awesome attributes and doing things in the community. I'm like, wait, okay? Let's start making project managers and leaders of their own projects. And they just started going all over the place and just doing a lot of stuff. They were really excited. In the beginning of a squad or a chapter, people get really excited about it, and they get all real fired up. And there's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of events. There's something happening every week, and it's just like I don't know how people can just like do this on a regular. But we were doing it, and that's why it grew so fast. And
Mhm.
and people who just became affiliates later because they were too busy.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people who are in their element, artists are just really busy in their element all the time. They're focused, and they should stay focused. And they don't want to get anybody get in their way, and they shouldn't, because that's what juggernauts do. And so, I understood that. It's like, okay, so how can we create this chapter in a way that it could push things forward and just help everybody create the network that we need and just the whole dang blueprint and stuff, and make sure that it doesn't get hijacked either by uh, any kind of outside forces that I hear about from people. It's like, oh yeah, there's politics everywhere and stuff. Like, okay, well, I guess we don't really have to pay attention too much to that because we felt like Phase like kind of protect us a lot from that. Like, oh,
Mhm.
Phase 2. Oh, you're one of his chapter guys. All right, okay, you tell him I said what's up. Like, okay, and that was the end of that conversation. We had some certain individuals that I didn't know what their intentions were with their chapters sometimes back then, but it's like the mention of his name kind of protected us from that as well. So okay, so I actually had to record some conversations sometimes. I got this special
Step,
device,
you,
you know.
Step, you know
Yeah.
why? You know why it was like that? People would say very often, and I'm probably sure all the brothers on this call could say New York was notorious for interfering in the progress or meddling in the affairs of chapters. This is a problem that in Zulu Nation years back, they would just see something going on, and you could have been doing things perfectly, and then they'll try to get your ear to see if you're going to listen, and then they would tell you, hey, you got 52 members. Why don't you start sending some dudes over to New York City? You know, you don't need all that. We're trying to build the headquarters over here. Send some money over, and then before you know it, you start asking.
Yep.
Then you got to do a shakedown to your members and beg them for money. And then, guys say, hey, we're doing this for the love. I don't even have a job. I'm just an artist. Like, I can't give you $10 a month. And then they say, oh, this Zulu is crazy. I'm leaving. and then before you know it, you start losing people, and they just start meddling in what y'all are doing, and
Yeah.
that was a bad thing. That's why fast forward 2017, we said, we're not collecting no dues. If the chapter collects dues, that's between y'all. Zulu Union don't want no dues. We don't want to talk about money. Let's talk about work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, we can't be
Stepchild,
interfering in this type of stuff.
step real quick.
Yeah.
In our history documents, where it specifically states our financial plan and team building, were
Yeah.
designed differently than how New York wanted us to run, right?
Yeah.
Because here we have a different economy and social structure in which each of the members were in charge of their own network projects that contributed organically to the Omega Zulu's order of business, right?
Yeah.
So, like, and at that point, um, when I just was coming on in 2015, 501c3 was on the radar, right? But then, UZN went belly up, and then everything went into chaos for a couple
Yeah.
years. So,
Yeah.
um,
It
but
was
I
that
know
and
I know you and Annie up. I used to see
yeah.
you move, and because even though like it was kind of a weird time in hip hop as a whole, like 2000, if you think about it, 2009, 2010, 11, it's not like a golden era to remember, right? But um, it's like a weird time. Like, you have, the 50 Cent wave had already passed by, and you had this, so here in Minnesota was like that too, right? Where, um, when I mentioned RSE earlier, they weren't like the they were a really established crew, but they weren't the only crews, right? There was a lot of other great crews and
Oh,
people
yeah.
doing lots of great stuff in the community, throwing great events that were very, very respectable and noteworthy. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, Doomtree. We could go
Doomtree.
on. It's like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, there was North Side crews, South Side crews, Longdoe. I mean, the list goes on. It was our how we kind of perceive and practice hip hop here in Minnesota is unlike anywhere else because we don't have a coast, right? We don't have that um, connection
Oh, sure
to a
we do.
coast, or we're the high
We have
north.
10,000. We have
We're-
10,000 of them.
yeah,
We have 10,000 lakes.
yeah, we're the high north, right? So some people when we growing up listening to hip hop, you know, Ghetto Boys, NWA, and Public Enemy would be in your tape deck at the same time. Imagine
Right.
that, right? Like it was like we didn't have like an allegiance to a coast. Um, so I think that's what makes Minnesota unique in a lot of ways. But um, step,
Yeah. You know,
mm,
uh, Reyes,
yeah,
one of the things, besides like what happened in 2015 around that
mm,
time period, we had Jamar Clark and
yeah,
Castile. Those events were happening in Minnesota, and that really changed our direction, how we had to handle things on streets and just like for justice and stuff like that. So we had to shift our attention that way. Well, then it kept on happening here. And that lasted for a while, and then another other kind of movements started to pop up because of that. So we had to like try and support those kind of movements in any which way was possible. So that kind of dynamic kind of shifted a little bit because people
yeah.
were also
He's
artists
killing.
were also yeah.
Yeah,
So that changed. We had a lot. I don't know. It's like okay. Well, of course,
what
George Floyd happened here, and that was just blew up. It's like
I think.
okay.
I remember Stage One. Big ups to Stage One being Zulu as
Yeah.
well
Right.
here.
Yep.
Yeah. Piece of stage
And I,
one.
yeah, I don't know his exact story with Zulu, but him and Bro Son used to talk about Zulu. That my memory's kind of not so good. Them talking about that. And I think when Truth came on as our president, Truth and Leslie are kind of like an older version
Yeah.
of Mike and Queen in a way.
Mhm.
the power couple, running because
Mhm.
Truth is
Yes.
a well-respected pioneer of Minnesota hip hop. Was part of the first one of the first crews here to put out a record called the IRM crew back in '86. But he was so passionate about you know leading the chapter and getting and doing work and getting us out there and really making a difference. He's such a driven individual, and I think that gave us so much joy. When I came on, it was just like at full strength. If I could remember right, Step, if you want to
Yeah.
confess, it was really just because he was the one that was on those monthly calls with New York and like Mark Love and other folks that would do these monthly calls and chapter leaders would call in, etc. But
Mhm.
it was Mark One that really approached me and say, hey, and it took him a while because I was busy with an organization called Save the Kids and I
Yep.
Dilla stuff and I was just kind of finding my path. But he was like, yo, you should join our chapter, and I think that's we that specific time Step was just a joy to be. We were repping it hard, right? We were repping UZN and Omega Zulu hard, and everybody was in support of us. Really, I mean, it was a great honor to be part of that, just that little bit of time, right? Because
Yeah.
it was just next thing and if I could jump in here, Step, about when the allegations came through. Um, you remember that meeting? We had a meeting at my house in my community room in downtown St.
Yep.
Paul, and you know we're all just kind of devastated. Some of us didn't want to accept this. Some of us were like, "This, is for real, and what are we gonna do?" Um, and really and there was some arguments that night, right? I think there was a little disagreements, right, within our chapter on where we should go, if we should stick with this or not. And I know a lot of chapters went through that in their own way, that in their own narratives and experience, right, where it
Yep.
got heated, right,
Mhm.
to this man that you know cause crimes against humanity, really fucked a whole lot of people up. Excuse my language, like in it, like that he didn't know about, so or at least cared about, right? So he didn't care. So we were like, okay, everyone left my house. I mean, God, we were talking for 3-4 hours, um, you know,
I remember.
and we went from like 50 some members or whatever to 4 members, like in one night, you know. Um, It was me, Mark, Step,
Crazy.
and Macwood. Remember,
Mhm.
Macwood.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, flick. I'll flick her. So and I think that turbulence and challenge. It was a big challenge. Not only for Megazooz but for the entire nation. What's next? And I think we just kind of laid low for a minute. I think there was a time where we got back together and tried to form like a whole new crew called the UMA.
Mhm.
Not like Tribe Called
Oh,
Quest's UMA, but it was called the Universal Movement for the Advancement of Hip Hop. And we did some great events, man. We did a lot of great work. We did a 2-day hip hop event. We were at Soundset. Um, that's where we actually had ran into Ninth Wonder out there, and he was, you know, his chapter was like put out that statement, and that was
Mhm.
after that. And Truth leaving, it gave Truth and Leslie, it put a dent in us, man. It just hurt, it really hurt. And I think me staying on and Mark and still kind of repping it on the low low, we kind of got side eyed from our own hip hop community in a way. Like, why you messing with that stuff still, man? That's crazy, right? But we
Mhm.
just felt like all this good work, right, and the things we did is not worth throwing away because of a person's actions, right? And I think that's a lot of chapters feel that way. And
Hmm.
um, I don't know it. It was really how I connected with. I think it was Mark that connected with you first, L. Um, and your encouragement and your words and your experience and your wisdom gave us hope. It really did. I just want you to know that it gave us a sense of let's hold on to this and see what we can do. Okay, hence the Zulu Union, and that was the beauty of it, right? Like we're
Right.
gonna move forward and we're gonna march on, right? And we're gonna let the world know, right, that this is not who Zulus are. You know, we're gonna do it correct. We're gonna do it right, and um, and that was like the revamp of Omega Zulu, right? Of our rebirth, so to speak. And me getting on the horn and talking to people and feeling because each if you leaders kind of figure out their members, what they're capable of, what they're willing to do, what their skill sets are, their strengths, their areas of improvement. You have to tap into all that in individualized members, and you channel people's energy in the right direction that serves the community, serves the chapter, serves your purpose and vision. And I think I did that, and I hate to toot my horn all the time, but I'm try to keep my pride down. Like what you got to keep your kibber down, right? So,
Right.
um,
Exactly.
it's a thin line between praise and kibber. So,
Right.
anyways, but Omega Zulu now, I think, is unstoppable. We're not gonna go anywhere soon, and we're proud of what we've been through, right? As many other chapters have, and how we overcame that, and how we overcame the negative to the positive, right?
Right.
And now the focus is the work still. It always
Mm-hmm.
has been, man. For if you think about it, it's the work.
Hmm.
It's not about wearing medallions. It's not about how many shows you can attend. It's really about changing the world, changing your community, changing the mindset of our young folks, and saying that this you have another opportunity than gangs. You have another opportunity than street life. You have another. There's more to life than what you might think, and so I think providing that as Zulus is so very important, right? And something positive. So there was some turbulent, real quick. I know we're coming up on 50 minutes, but and I could talk with you brothers all night to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of work in the
Uh,
morning and things like that. We got families, and like that's the other thing. Zulus are family members. We have, we're regular people in the community. It's not like we're stars. I don't think
right.
like treated like stars. Even though our practitioners of hip hop and practitioners of the culture and elements. But um, we had some turbulent times in which some stuff happened, and then I Mike and Queen. I had been working with Mike with the Dilla Day stuff. He actually did a
Mhm.
Dilla Day, so that our love for Dilla brought us together. And he, um, I was kind of distraught one day, and he said, Reyes, don't worry, we'll figure this out, and I'll be with you, man. We just have to rebuild. We'll be all right. And that's the type of things that we need for each other as brothers and sisters in our movement, is to encourage each other to be our best, even though we all have flaws and demons and um, things that bring us back to not our best selves. Others keep you on track if they really love you. If you surround yourself with brothers and sisters that really love you, they're gonna tell you when you're doing wrong, and then they're gonna help you provide solutions, right? And then Mike and
Absolutely.
Queen, right, really just came on, and recruit some new members. It's not rocket science, right? It's it's
Hmm.
it's the way human interaction and human relationships occur, in which you get like-minded people together, and you move forward, right? So, Omega Zulus have done so many great events. We've done panels and we've done back to school stuff. We have our annual chili cook-off. That's a Minnesota thing. I don't know if you eat chili in New York, but like
Do I do?
Yeah, we do.
it's the winter activity stuff. But um, creating a space and partnering with other organizations that are like-minded too, right? There's there's so many different organizations here in Minnesota, just like New York and Seattle and LA and other places. But the sacredness of Zulu is responsibility. We have to be responsible if you want to call yourself that, and it carries
Accountability.
Yeah,
accountability. So, yeah, thank you.
accountability.
I'm train of thought.
Both. It's both. It's
Yes,
both,
yeah,
King. It's
it's
both.
both.
Right, right.
It is both, right? But the
Absolutely.
responsibility, accountability, and integrity. That's why
Mm-hmm.
our principles, integrity, and work. Those two are important, and
Mm-hmm.
and peace and love, our peace of mind and self, and that to love ourselves and love our surroundings and family. That's the love we're talking about. The love of him. The love of positive outcomes, right? Because there's a lot of evil in this world, and we just got to keep striving against it. So, and we just hosted the Zulu Unit Summit. That was not easy, right? Um, so and I think our focus going forward, Step is just such a wonderful human being, and I've known him. I don't know if y'all know this. Step can dance his butt off. Like he's a dope b-boy rocker and can do everything else. But um, is we're all getting old, right? Not old, but you never know when you're gonna go. Allah knows best, right? Like we want
Yeah,
to concentrate on cultivating the next members of Zulu, and that's important. Because some of these
Very.
kids are, it's not too different than when we were growing up. They just have, if you don't have a direction or have guidance or have a male or female figure in your life and things like that, and all the societal issues that come with challenges, Zulu can be a way to have focus, um, to be a part of something, to be a part of a family that's not a gang structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a it's but Omega Zulu is not going anywhere. We will be here. We're actually going to establish another chapter in Chicago. We're working on that, which will be under the union umbrella as well. But you know, we we have a lot of work to do too, and I think that's inspiring. It's like it won't stop. Um, Ella Baker once said, those who believe in freedom cannot rest. And I think that's one of my mottos that I go by. So,
You,
Fire,
I
man.
had I had so many questions, but you guys kind of answered that. Like I was gonna ask you,
For real.
I
For
was gonna be
real.
like, yo, how were you guys autonomous or did you have a lot of involvement from the nation? Y'all got into that. What I needed, well, not need, but what I would like from you two is one, because we don't have too much time, but can you guys shed some light on exactly for the people that don't know who was phase two?
well, I think all of us can talk about it. Phase two is a
Right,
well,
prolific
whoever,
graffiti writer,
right.
a pioneer in hip hop. Uh, Phase made a lot of the original flyers for hip hop jams and parties. Um, Step jump in here. He was a
yeah,
dancer. He was an MC and a artist, graffiti artist. So, um, what I, teach is that he was the creator of the bubble letter phenomena, uh, in
Mm.
which they
Dope.
were called softies, right? There is some kind of talk about another person doing that too, but that's attributed to him. And you know, he should, if there was a Mount Rushmore of hip hop, he would be on it. Um,
Yeah.
if you ask me.
Yeah. Faze has a book that's out called Profadivi, and I think that explains in really really good detail. I can't remember who wrote it. I think maybe it was Midas. I don't remember, from Texas. But that book, it was his last writings while he was fighting ALS, and he didn't tell anybody. And
Mm.
yeah, and he lost control of his right hand, which was his primary hand. So and he died, and he came back, and his mind was super dimensional again, and he was writing with his left hand. It still needs to be deciphered. And Coda was walking me through that his book the other day. I got the book a long time ago, right when it came out. Okay, but I just thought it was just like, just some of the last things that he said, and it was really awesome. But there was
Mhm.
more to it. His mind is very. You guys know, and an artist's mind is very abstract, and artists think very multi-dimensional, because you could try and put whatever it is in your mind into something in the physical world the best that you can, like with art or sculptures or like a drawing or something like that, or even on the side of a train, or or even mashing again together a bunch of sounds, producing or something, just something, right? Different sounds. Well, if you read this book and you look at, you can see it, that there's something about it. You got to get the book, and there's something to decipher about it. Other than that, that was his last his writings, and if nobody has it out, the Profadivi, you should go get it, and help us all out trying to figure it out, because there's something. The last words of his book is very very special. But when you want to inquire about that, then message me or Coda. Um,
That's
he was a
dope.
good friend. He was a good friend. Like what Reyes is saying, and everybody in the rest of the world knows, he has a great history in hip hop, of being a pioneer, of doing all those things in graffiti, and even founded in the New York City Breakers, from the and bringing those people together. Everybody thinks this is all in the Michael Holman, but sorry, Michael, if you're listening to this, it's we Faze is all up in there in the mix, and he's got to document it as well out there. But if they don't really care, that's what he said. So and a lot of the New York City Breakers can also confirm that as well, if you want to go down that road. But anyways, he
Mm.
contributes so much to uprocking, as well. He did a lot of things in that. When it comes to hip hop, what I see him as, he was a really good friend. I remember the last time that I saw him. Last time I saw him, I forgot which train it was. Maybe it was the 7 in Brooklyn. No, it wasn't the 7 in Brooklyn. It was like Union Square, or the station before you went back to upstate New York. And I didn't have a job at the time, and he gave me this whole big giant bags of Cliff Bars, because that's what he would eat throughout the city
Mm.
and stuff. And I didn't have any money, and so he gave me his whole bag of Cliff Bars, and like, well, I had some money, like, but it's like, so he gave me those bag of Cliff Bars, and then it's like, so now I'm gonna just walk around the city by myself. I didn't really know a lot of people. Well, I did, but it's like I wasn't staying in a hostel and stuff, and then I saw him off, and he just went on the train. He just like, you'll be good, man. You'll be all right. So I just sat there. I just, I was like a little puppy his friend gets on the train and leaves. And I just sat there. Just, what am I gonna do now? Go get a slice of New York pizza, and a crappy one in the corner, or a good one up in Harlem? I don't know. But that was the last time I saw him, and I can remember that. The last one on the platform, I just left, and sometimes I've wondered, and I remember at that time if that was ever going to be the last time I ever saw him. I mean, it was. So.
That's incredible. That's dope, man. RIP Phase Two. For our listeners that may not be so familiar, if you're not super deep into hip hop, just YouTube the brother, Google him, and just get in tune with who he is and who he was. Um, I wanted to ask you, Step, before we get going. Um, I recall during the coronavirus, I don't know if it was a video or
Uh
we were talking about it. It was you looking like I don't know, like dressed as a soldier. You were armed head to toe, and I believe you were in
mm-hmm.
front of a masjid because there was some threats of violence
Oh,
going
jeez.
on in Minnesota. Can you talk about that?
Oh, jeez, Reyes.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
You start.
Well, yeah.
You
So,
got me into it.
yeah. Okay. So, Makram Elamine, my imam from Masjid an-Nur, he real quick, their story, the Elamine family is really huge up here. They came from Chicago. They were originally part of the Nation of Islam, but then they went with the War of Deen Muhammad community in 1975. Anyways, long story short, Masjid an-Nur and a church down the block. This is in North Minneapolis. So this is when the uprisings were happening, and the National Guard was like, I think they sent 10,000 National Guard people here. There was tanks and
Well,
soldiers. I don't know how many it was. It was a lot. So
well.
they, so there was credible, real quick. There was credible threats in the neighborhood that these white terrorists from the outskirts of the suburbs were coming to terrorize black neighborhoods, and which is true. Like, this was credible information from credible sources, and so we just kind of hammered up and held down. I don't know, maybe it was like an 8-9 block radius step
Yeah.
from up on Broadway, because everything was still wrecked from the uprisings, like burnt or demolished or whatever it may be, because there was north side, south side, and St. Paul. Okay, I'm trying to give you some logistical images here, but and I called up Step, and I was like, you know, the man
Yeah.
called us up, and we're gonna be out there all night until Fajr, and after Fajr, and then that's it. We got to just keep doing laps, and there was people on top of the masjid, and there was a church down the street. Then the headquarters at Sammy's Eatery.
Okay.
Recipes that owner just passed away, but that was the headquarters in which you were part of this crew to protect protesters,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
protect people in
primarily
general. Yeah,
primarily the black businesses of the north side and the whole ecosystem. They were threatened.
yeah,
Extremist groups and
yeah,
were threatening to burn us all down, like what they did with South Minneapolis. This
yeah.
brother right here, Zulu King Reyes, told me I should, just show up for a couple hours and just take off. It's all, just show up for just a couple hours and we're good. I ended up being there for 2 weeks, Reyes.
I know,
15 hours a
You
day,
were out there a while. I know.
15 hours every night, 2 hours of sleep, getting shot at every hour by the hour. It's just like,
Getting
Wow.
shot at. Wow.
Oh,
Man,
that's
sometimes
crazy.
we wouldn't even know where they came from. This is like because they echo off the buildings and stuff. So it's like, okay, and I'm here. There's just they're sticking me out at the west corridor, the busiest one where everybody tries to enter into the Broadway into North Minneapolis.
Yeah, right.
So they decide, okay, well, look at this guy. He's just stick him up there by himself. Good idea. Well, I mean, so I was up there by myself at the time while everybody else is partying at their other checkpoints. And Reyes, you're down at the mosque.
Yeah,
And so I don't know how busy you were, but I'm sure you're really busy because a lot of gunshots came from down that direction.
yeah.
I mean, it was like hailstorm.
We were just on our own. The thing of it, real quick, we were just on our own. The cops would come by and just say, wave at you, how you doing? The National Guard would come by with the tanks
Sometimes
and stuff like that, right? But we didn't receive any help from them, which was we were all self-contained, self-autonomy,
That's
and
crazy.
and it felt kind
I
of
don't
good, to
blame
tell
them.
you the truth.
I don't blame them for not stopping by. I don't blame them for not pitching the tent Every time they drove by us, every night, it's like they go through Broadway, open up my my corridor so they can get through. I'm like, are you guys gonna set up shop now tonight? Because I'm actually a civilian and I have a life. This is my neighborhood. Set
Yeah.
up shop like you're supposed to. Like you're supposed to do something around here, and they just wave on
Yeah.
by. I got my
Yeah.
AR-15
Protect
right
and serve
here, my
didn't mean
vest, and
nothing
it's
to
like,
them at that point.
yeah, just like, hey everybody, hey, then they'd leave, close up my corridor, and all of a sudden, a little bit later, well, all hell breaks loose again, and everybody, well, okay, so, so who's gonna die tonight? You don't know. It's just like, okay, so when it gets quiet, that's when it gets dangerous because they're shifting
Mhm.
positions. They didn't get a good enough line of sight at you. Now they're gonna shift positions, and then they're gonna come from somewhere else. It's like, okay, so now it's quiet. All right, everybody, get as much stuff off the streets and make yourself some sort of makeshift barricade somewhere somehow, trying to cover all the different angles if you can, which is a really crappy situation because it's just not really something you can build in the middle of a street when you need to like barricade it and then move the barricades all the time and direct people. Like, people are scared out of their minds, sleeping in their bathtubs. Oh, the night's gonna fall, everybody get in the bathtubs or into the basement. That's announced around the
Yeah.
neighborhood and stuff. And not only that, we're collecting all these Molotov cocktails in the alleys. That people
Yeah.
were
Because they.
leaving. They're trying to burn us down like they did the
Yeah.
South and they did the Midway. It
Yep.
was very very intense situation we created as a result of that. You know, because of that, what you're talking about, Reyes,
Yeah.
all those people that were that was like all the alphabet departments on the same table. They're the ones that got the intel and all that stuff. Because
Yeah.
Leslie from the NAACP was on those tables and telling us.
Yeah.
They told her straight up that emergency services were not going to be served to the people of Minneapolis no more for an unknown amount of time. So
Yeah.
you got this guy who's going out for vice president right now, our governor, Mr. Walz, going to
Yeah.
vice president. He was in charge at the time, and then
Yeah.
there was the mayor of Minneapolis, and then there was the commanders, the state police, and then there was the FBI that was involved. CIA was in there somewhere. The CLJ was in there. They're all on the same tables. The Office of Violence Prevention and NAACP and what's the other one? The Eli was a part of that group. The ACLU was all up
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, and they were out there trying to make decisions on our lives. And they're like, okay, well, we have intel that they're going to come down and they're going to burn down the rest of your city. The black businesses and ecosystem of North Minneapolis is the one that we all depend on.
Yeah.
We all depend on that stuff. And when they burn all
Oh no, he muted. You muted, King.
that, oh, there you go. Corpus gonna go in there and buy everything out. I was actually, spitting a real dope rap line. You guys didn't know I'm into that. So, but so
You missed out on
remix,
bars.
I
missed
think
out on my bars.
that
Or
with Mr. Floyd, our brother, being taken away, it was a paradigm shift here. It was for the world, really, but it was, we lit this spark in humanity, and George, lit this fire in us, that we had to release this energy. We had to this anger, this pain, this rage, all this stuff that was boiling in, kind of like, you know, what happened with Rodney King, right? But this was just like, you know, sometimes you just need to an outlet, right? And we, that square is sacred space. This is Lakota land, Minnesota. This is native land. This is sacred up here, and that tragedy changed us forever. It really did. So
there's a lot of like such weird politics that were happening. It's like a big giant chess game.
yeah,
You can see the whole damn thing folding out. It's still folding out as we. There's an article yesterday about violence interrupter groups. Oh, there's some more folding out right there. It's like we all see that. We can all see through all that stuff. We all see through all like the funding, certain funding shifts here and there, and all the politics. That's a whole different subject. But there's so much cause and effect, and different in on the ground level. It's just like, okay, there's a different kind of purpose. COVID is all up in there too. People are losing their purpose, and especially in the realms of hip hop and stuff, because a lot of our platforms were in person, and they're taking that. The world is taking that away. So you do your best. Okay, let's have a concert on like on Zoom or something. We do the best you can. I don't know how, and that did happen. You do the best you can to try and support yourself, but that was also part of that paradigm shift that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
That's why Step was zooted and booted.
Yeah, I mean,
they
salute to
it's incredible.
Stepchild, though. Salute to y'all for
salute to
doing
you
that.
both. Salute to y'all both, man.
Yeah, for real.
Like that's something, a lot of people say, oh, we protecting the hood, or we got this on lock. But what y'all brothers did was really put y'all lives on the line to
It was for
protect
real. Yeah.
your community. It was for real. Like it wasn't it was a real like function that y'all did, so that's the warrior spirit, man. Y'all are true Zulus and tapped in and really ready to save the community, protect the community by any means necessary. So salute y'all, brothers, man. Yo, I would love to keep building with y'all all night, man, but this was incredible, man. We really before I just want to say, how can people reach Reyes? How can people reach you? And Stepchild, how can people reach out to you as well?
Sure. Zulu King Reyes on IG, Reyes Romero on Facebook. I run the Omega Zulu IG page too, with Hip Hop Education Center, hiphopeducationcenter.com. I'm on there. Minnesota Hip Hop Museum, the founder of that. Be around. I'm what else? Can't remember all my social medias right now, but
That was good though.
That's peace. Steph, how can people you got any IG or anything? How people reach out to you?
Well, this Stepchild is actually at Stepchild75.
yeah.
I think is my Instagram. I think I tried to
I
keep
know
up
it
with
better
as
than
best as
him.
I
Yeah,
can.
that's it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do they want my Cash App? I think
Yo,
it's the same thing.
real quick. Let the people know why they call you Stepchild. Before we go,
man.
why do they call you Stepchild?
Oh, well, it's a multifaceted definition. It had so many people redefined it. Ness redefined it one time.
Peace, alien
yeah,
Ness.
he redefined it one time. Well, he
Word.
just thought it was such a nasty name. It's like, oh man, nobody wants to mess with the Stepchild. We can try to rock against the Stepchild. He said that to me one time, and it was well, when you're in the mind of a child and their minds are so open, and to be able to receive new information that comes into them, and that also creates new chapters, and that's where I take my steps.
That's fire.
Word, that really was. That was crazy.
Dope. That was a bar. We missed your bar earlier, but we just got one. We just got one.
Yeah.
My bad. Let me start it again. I'm just kidding. You guys can finish that. I'm a real rapper.
Yo, man, thank y'all brothers for coming on, and also thank you for that trade for Karl Anthony Towns coming to the Knicks. I appreciate that also.
Man, that's
You
what
know,
but it's not finalized yet. It's not finalized yet. You know that, right? It's not finalized
no,
yet.
all right, it's
They're
okay.
still working out the kinks.
We'll miss them, but you know.
Yeah,
man. If y'all ever come to New York City, man, we'll go catch a game
home.
and
All right.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I love all you guys.
Yeah.
For real.
Yo, we're gonna do this again.
Love
y'all too. Word.
That's
right, bro, man.
Definitely.
Big salute.
What's up?
Peace.
Peace. All right.